I have been waiting for this moment for a long, long time, but happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Trek with Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation novel series. We are on Roxy Gets Serious. Like everything else of this series so far has just been set up. It has all been leading up to the moment that we actually get into the nitty-gritty of this series, which is actually, yes, looking into the history and the life of Roxy, because she, of course, is best girl. She's such a best girl that she gets 12 volumes to herself. No other character gets that. Nope, Edis doesn't get that, unfortunately. I really wanted Edis Gaiden to actually be an entire series like this one. Sylphie doesn't get it. Unfortunately, Zenoba doesn't get it. Cliff, unfortunately, doesn't get it. Nobody else gets it except for Roxy, because she's obviously best girl. But yes, welcome back, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week after Mushoku Monday. But yes, I greatly appreciate your guys' support, your kind words, all that stuff that gets me through this journey. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And yes, as per usual, greatly appreciate everybody that supports channel monetary through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Last week we had Red Bandit with his super and Spud Monkey with 20, count it, 20 months. Thank you guys so much for your long time support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That said, we got a lot to talk about. First things first, last week, yes, I did kind of mention the idea that I'm going to do Roxy Get Serious, and then that's it. I had a lot of comments saying, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? Mostly like all the little like side stories, small chapters, exclusives and whatnot for like different volumes and whatnot. I did look at a lot of those, and I didn't really see that they were like of value. Like it was almost like there's like scatter shots of like this person talked to this person and then butt of a joke. It didn't feel like they had like something to chew into, so I wasn't really sure if I'm gonna actually do them. I know that I said at some point I was planning on doing like the volume 12 part 2 or whatever. I looked in that quite a bit, and it seemed like a lot of kind of just rehashing of the same stuff. I don't know. I will look at it eventually, and I will decide at some point if it's a lot of that stuff I'm going to actually cover. To be honest, I'm at this point now where I think I've covered pretty much everything that most people care about me covering. And it feels like I hate to think this way, but it's true. I've gotten to a point now where it feels like most of people have just fallen off of Mushoku Monday, as if it's like nobody cares about this stuff. I care about it, and I really enjoy consuming it, but I'm just not sure if I'm going to do a Mushoku Monday over them, because it doesn't feel like people care about them. So I don't know. Maybe when I get around that stuff, maybe people start wanting to be interested in it again, but it doesn't seem like there's an interest anymore in Mushoku Monday. It's partly something that's kind of nagging at me to kind of just move on to the next project, because I feel like maybe people think that I'm just kind of milking at this point, and I just don't really think that there's a care for it. That said, we'll see. I'll decide eventually if it's something I'm going to do, but I do want to read Roxy Get Serious, and I do want to experience it with you guys, so if either way, whatever happens, this is something we're going to do. Now, getting into Roxy Get Serious. I said last week I wasn't sure how I was going to do the Roxy Get Serious series for Mushoku Monday. I think Mishoku Monday, for those who have been around for a while, know that it's been sort of evolving over time. It kind of went from this pretty much skip content, because we had the anime for the first season. It went from like skip content stuff to like me sort of summarizing the entire series to me like, you know, reading it like fully, because a lot of the stuff wasn't available in the, at least, you know, in English. So I was doing a lot of the translated stuff that people did, you know, for the sake of those that have never read it. So it kind of went from, again, like summary to like full on read. I don't know that I wanted to do a full on read of this one on Mushoku Monday. Mainly because it's a lot of visuals and whatnot, and I didn't want to put those on the screen because I've seen in the past that these companies get very defensive about manga panels. These publishers get really, really defensive about using manga panels. I want to use manga panels on the screen, but they're going to probably be like panned if anything. But I have decided that I want to pre-read the stuff and then take down notes and then go over my thoughts of it overall. So what's probably going to turn into is going to be a lot shorter Mushoku Mondays than typical. Yeah, I'm not sure if some people do see like the full-on length of this. It's probably going to be a shorter Mushoku Monday than usual. Probably, like, I would assume at most 20 minutes. It might be 30 minutes. It just really depends on what I want to talk about with each volume. Also, because I do want to take my time and enjoy this and not rush through it, I'm thinking maybe 2 volumes per week at most. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to sit there and read it because, again, it's Roxy. For those that know, see right here, it's all over me. I like Roxy. I love her to death, and I want to enjoy her story. This is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. A lot of people had me sort of putting it off until at least I got done with volume 12. That's mainly because of the first couple pages, but it is something that I've been looking forward to. I waited till the very end, and it was mostly because I just didn't know how to handle it. But this is what we're going to go with. We'll see how it works. As usual, if it might end up evolving over time, I might have some stuff that I want to actually read on the actual recording and whatnot. But for now, I'm just going to kind of summarize and go through it. But either way, I hope, as usual, you guys enjoy this little trip and that we have a lot of fun together doing it. So before we get into things, though, I do want to get into sort of my thoughts overall with the visuals. I will admit, I think when I first seen the very first cover of it, I sort of didn't see Roxy. It is Roxy, obviously, but there's a very differentness to it that doesn't feel like it's Roxy. But I do feel as I went through it, I think their art style does kind of improve, and eventually it comes to a style that this is Roxy. Again, early on, I'm not sure if that's Roxy. That's Roxy. It feels like their art style definitely does improve over time, and I do really love it. But overall, I think their aesthetic, their detail and whatnot is perfect for something like this. I will say, when I seen the manga series for the mainline series, I wasn't a fan. And I felt it was because it was just too comical. And with it being so comical, it doesn't really sort of lend itself well to the serious tone and subject matter that the series gets into. But when it comes to Roxy Gets Serious, I think it has sort of a simplicity to the style, but there's also a little bit of detail. And what that sort of does is allows it to be a very kind of neutral tone story with comedic beats, and every now and then have some heavy subject matters. Now, I will admit that so far with 2 volumes, there's only been maybe 4 points, maybe 5 points of heaviness. And I think when those heaviness comes up, it doesn't dwell in it too long, but it has a visual impact enough that it works. And I think a lot of the environments and stuff like that work out very well as well. I love the comedic moments with Nokopada and whatnot, just being silly or whatnot. Visually, I like this style, and I adore, especially early on, the younger points of Roxy. She looks freaking adorable. The younger shots of Roxy, she's absolutely adorable. I will also admit that the author knows about the Holy Relic. I'll just say that. I will admit the author does in fact know about the Holy Relic and tries to emphasize the presence of the Holy Relic because goddamn, she loves Ponce-chans. It's a female, right? I think this is a female. Shoko Iwami sounds like a female. Oh my gosh, that's right. They did the Virgin Slayer and the maid outfit. I love those moments. Anyways, that said, let's just dive right into it. I'm chapter 1. Let me start reading. My brain immediately goes into Mushoku Monday mode. Okay, what am I reading? But no, getting into volume 1, right into chapter 1. I think a lot of people knew this was going to be a kind of a short telling of the current time, which goes into showing Roxy, living as the second wife of Rudius. So it's obviously before Edis shows up. But the idea here is that, of course, we have at some point a book is found. And this book is from an author, Vlad Conde. Now, I've seen some people mention that Vlad Conde might be Kant, which is the adventure, the author that is traveling around the world. I have yet to see an actual confirmation of that in the books, but that seems to be the going thought here. Either way, they find this book, Journey Around the World, and this goes into her telling about her experience meeting this individual, which of course is the person that originally inspires Roxy to go out and become an adventurer, and yes, also teaches her magic and everything like that. And I do love so far with the first 2 volumes that I've read, there's a lot of emphasis on sort of the things that she has taught Roxy about the world. And I think it becomes very relevant later on as we get into volume 2 as Roxy arrives in Milis, because of course that's going to be the big point in which we see a lot of her struggles. And it's interesting because I don't remember really seeing too much of that in the mainline series. There was, of course, a lot of emphasis of it when Roxy went to go meet Zenith's mom, to basically meet the in-laws. There was, of course, a lot of fear there with Roxy herself, and that was something that Rudius, instilled upon her very quickly, you're not going to disrespect my wife. You're not going to disrespect Roxy. That was a very big importance there. So there wasn't a presence of that, but it was in this telling, it's Vlad basically instilling upon Roxy, yeah, you might be really excited about going to that place. It's really, really cool, but at the same time, you're going to face a lot of struggles there. And she does eventually see that. But anyways, but it's going back to the original starting of the story. But we get the book and we go into talking about Roxy's origins. It kind of shows a little bit about her issues with communications before it jumps back to the birth point. And I love this because I feel like for a majority of this Roxy Gets Serious, and I think this is a good thing, a majority of this, it feels like a self-contained story. So it does feel like with like even this part of the story, it's trying to make sure that it doesn't assume that you know everything about Roxy, that you know everything about the world itself and whatnot. So it kind of takes its time to explore everything that Roxy went through at her birth. The fact that she was different. It does seem like there's a sense here where somebody thought that they knew that she had a problem. Like the lady that helped them with the birth, it seems to imply that she knew something. But it goes right into, of course, a lot of stuff that we know about Roxy and the fact that, yes, at some point they realize that she can't communicate with telepathy. I think the cool thing that sort of is shown better with this manga series is it really does get into the idea of how Roxy felt isolated. Yes, I got an indication of constantly Roxy looks over and they're kind of silently together. Her parents are silently together and she feels secluded, that she feels like she's not a part of the conversation. But this really gets to the point where at the very beginning, yes, it wasn't just the fact that she couldn't go out and see the other kids. They wouldn't let her go out there because they knew something was different about her. But also that every time the mother kind of got flustered over a situation, she would call out to dad, oh my gosh, help me. Like, I don't know what to do right here. Like, oh, I need to do this pronunciation. Oh, I don't know. Let me call out to him again. And Roxy would notice that she's suddenly going silent. It's because she's trying to call out to the husband, and Roxy is sitting there going, she went silent again. What's wrong? Why is she doing that again? It is, again, an interesting way of sort of showing that struggle. But again, I adored it back when it covered it in the anime. I adored it when I read about it, but I adore seeing this struggle the parents had over learning the demon language so they can communicate with their daughter, how much they went through in order to do that. And yes, at the same time, that heartbreaking struggle of Roxy to constantly be like, gosh, something's wrong with me. I'm bad, aren't I? I must be a bad kid. It's my fault. My parents are suffering because of me. She blames herself for everything in that situation, even though the parents are like, no, it's my fault. The mom's like, I birthed you. I did something wrong, obviously. I created you, and it was me. Something in me is wrong. That's painful stuff. But anyways, that's stuff that we pretty much already knew. The stuff that we didn't really know, I mean, we get a sense of it and some mentions of it here and there, this master that Roxy talked about. We get the arrival of Vlad Conde, whatever. Vlad shows up, a traveling adventurer that just collapsed outside of the town. Roxy discovers her. They take her into her house, and they're taking care of her and everything like that. And eventually, Roxy is just completely just absorbed by this lady because she has stories of her travels around the world. It kind of gives an impression here that it's like the first time that Roxy's ever kind of met somebody. Like, oh wow, somebody actually speaks, like, spoken stuff. Like, everybody else in this town, they all speak with their mind. Finally, somebody's in the town that I can talk to. But yes, hearing about the world itself and hearing about all this stuff, eventually having her teach her magic, healing magic, all that kind of stuff. Again, I like that they don't make the assumption that you know everything. So it goes through like Roxy learning about their healing magic, attacking magic, summoning magic, learning magic itself, all that stuff, and eventually training, getting overexpending herself, passing out. There's like a lot of emphasis in this entire first 2 volumes of the idea of her not overexpending her mana, which is sort of refreshing. Because in the mainline series, there was so much emphasis on Rudius having this massive mana pool. Even though, yes, early volumes, he did overexpend, and that caused him to pass out. For the majority of the series, it's like Rudius never runs out of mana, really. Very few times he does, goes white-haired, that kind of stuff. But with Roxy, it's like constantly emphasis, don't overextend. Don't use a much amount of time. If you do use this spell, make sure somebody is with you that you trust. I love that moment. Make sure you don't use a spell unless there's somebody right next to you that can take care of you afterwards. But yeah, eventually learning all this magic, getting her first one, getting left with a intermediate spell book before Vlad disappears. Vlad just up one morning, just disappears before Roxy even wakes up. And yes, like many people, when we read that, I'm like, I give this author mad credits, and I heard this from a few people. I didn't really go look and see if I did. I think I remember seeing a post by Refusion at some point about this, so I think I have looked this up. But I think there is sort of like an appreciation for Shoko Iwami, which is the artist for this series, and that they took this, and even though it is Refusion's original story, they took Roxy's story and kind of made it, breathe life into it, basically. And it seemed like Refusion really did respect the work that they did with that. And again, even noting the idea that potentially Refusion even like made what they did with the manga series canon. But I love like little moments right here where it sort of obviously acknowledges that there's parallels being drawn here. That this individual, Vlad Conde, decided to leave in the middle of the night. Roxy kind of did the same thing. In a sense, Roxy, she didn't leave in the middle of the night or anything like that, but she was very quick about it. The moment that Rudius got to this point of everything learned from her, Roxy left. Next morning, I'm out of here. Bye. You learned everything. I'm out of here. Bye. It was the same thing here. I taught you everything I need to teach you. Here's your next book here. Bye. Just left the dead night. So I do feel like that was intentional. There was a little bit of a, maybe whatever Roxy, like her way of thinking, was sort of pressed upon her by Vlad back here. But anyway, yeah, it kind of leads into later on Roxy eventually not liking being there anymore. Yes, she wanted to ask Vlad, let me travel with you. Never got to ask that, decides to go out and journey alone by herself. So she leaves in the dead of night. Good little introduction there for Vlad herself before we get into more stuff that I think is going to be a little bit more like new to us, besides, of course, the Rikarisu Hoodlums. Yes, Roxy going out, traveling to Rikarisu, joining the Adventure Guild, learning about being an adventurer, knowing that Sensei was an adventurer, having to fight for herself and survive. It was just one of those things where like I never really realized it before, because yes, we talked about how Roxy left her home, went out and became an adventurer, but there's like that period of time between the moment that she leaves, her hometown before she gets anywhere, that she'd be traveling some very dangerous lands alone. I give her mad credits there. So yes, it technically does show that somebody shows up to save her ass, because she can't fight alone. She ends up fighting off a bunch of Pax Coyotes until eventually somebody shows up. And then of course charges her a whole bunch of money in order to, repay them. Eventually does get to Rikarisu, runs into a pickpocket, but she doesn't have any money to lose. Joins the Adventure Guild, and then yes, eventually meets the Rikarisu Hoodlums during her first quest. Yes, Dale, Nokopara, and Blaze. Everybody out there, let's see how long until I say Nekopara, because I'm gonna freaking say it. Nokopara. I love this. I actually do love this, and it's one of those things where it's something I didn't know that I actually needed until I got it. Hawkindale, Nokopara, and Blaze was something that they kind of course, brought up at some point when Roxy was going to find Rudius. We got to meet Nokopara, and Nokopara talked about Blaze and Dale, and that was a point where we're like, oh wait, Blaze? That was a dude back there that Rudius ran into. Holy crap, that was a member of their party? And then, of course, there was Dale, who we never really ever got to meet, but Nokopara was definitely a center point of a lot of the mainline series, as he pops up here and there in order to help them out with information and whatnot. But it was one of those things where I didn't know that I actually needed it until I started reading this, where I'm like, oh god, I actually really like getting to see these characters. Now, yes, unfortunately, they're not around for very long. That's the sucky thing. Like, there is a point where it does like a 3-year jump, but like, yeah, because I think she was 14 when she first meets them, and I think she separates with them like when she was like 17 or something like that. But it's like a very brief time that we get to see them together, but I liked it because I got to see sort of these three individuals that sort of shaped a lot of what Roxy learns early on. And I love the chemistry. I love it. Nokopara, I almost said it. Nokopara is a jerkwad, but I love seeing that he has sort of a logic behind him. Dale is the, let me start with Dale. Dale is Paul. Dale is like Paul. He's not a womanizer, but he's a Paul character. He's a guy that aspires to be a legend. He is this North style, I think it implies that he's a North God style swordsman. It says Northern God style. I'm assuming that's North God style. He's a North God style swordsman that seems to be very talented, and does a really good job of, kind of pushing them to go and try things. But they keep emphasizing that he is also very reckless. Nokopada is the opposite of Dale in the idea that he seems to be somebody that is very calculative about what they do and doesn't like the idea of taking risks. So he's constantly like, no, let's not do that. No, it's going to be extremely dangerous. No, we should probably not do this. We should do something that's, lower. Yes, we're this rank of, membership of the Adventure Guild, but let's keep to these rank stuff because we might run into... He's like every single quest they take on, he's talking about how like we might run into magical monsters over there. That's going to be like A rank or something like that, and it's going to wipe us out. He's very, very cautious. So I really like to kind of see this because while Nokopada very early on is like constantly butting heads with Roxy because he's kind of a snot, I like at some point she finally realizes, oh, so that's why Nokopada is that way. At some point, she realized, Dale, you're kind of crazy and you're going to get us all killed. Okay, now it kind of makes sense. Blaze, I feel like he was so quiet and feel like they really did anything with him. And it's very unfortunate because, of course, Blaze does show up later on in the mainline series, but like Blaze seemed to be like he's very level-headed, but it seems like he's somebody that is also extremely unconfident of himself. It implies the fact that he left his hometown and that he aspired to one day become a great adventurer so that he can, stick it to the hometown. Stick it to the people back at home because they apparently didn't see much in him. So he felt like if he could stay at Hawkendale's side, Nokopada felt the same way. They both seen that Hawkendale had the capability of being something great. So let's just kind of stick with him, and then once he becomes a legendary adventurer, we'll be there. Well, they technically kind of imply the idea they're both there to see him and witness it, not necessarily to ride on it, but Blaze also implies the idea that by being at his side, it'll sort of stick it to them. By becoming like a great adventurer is going to stick it to them. So, again, but I kind of am a little bit bummed by the fact that they didn't really get too much more into Blaze. Eventually, it does get into the idea that, of course, with how the party kind of falls apart later on, that Blaze sort of feels like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to be able to pull off what I wanted to pull off. What am I going to do without Dale? That kind of thing. Like, if we separate, I have nothing kind of thing. But I think that sort of comes into play with a lot of groups. There's always sort of somebody that kind of keeps the group together. And without the individual, it sort of kind of falls apart. I think with Rudius, with his situation with Rajerd and Edis, how it kind of falls apart. And with Paul and their party, the moment that Paul leaves with Zenith, it just kind of falls apart. There's always something that's in the middle that kind of holds it all together. And yes, they do technically get into that, I'll get into a minute. They do technically get into that idea eventually with this first two volumes of eventually getting into the idea that things that sort of shake up a group cause it to fall apart. There's something that's, dramatic happens and it just completely causes people to just have a rift and everything just falls apart. They just have these fights. The quest itself didn't go well. They lost a party member. Something like that happens, and it just causes this massive fight, and then just things fall apart. And there's almost like a blame thing that happens there with Roxy and, the guild itself that's pretty interesting as well. But that all said, Roxy getting saved by the Rikarisu Hoodlums. I do love this. Again, I do love the chemistry and getting to see more of them. But her being brought into the group, of course, making all the jokes about the fact that they think that she's a little kid. Eventually them acknowledging that she's a Midgardian, and so it doesn't look that way. And that's, of course, a recurring joke that kind of plays out the entire first volumes already, is the idea of Roxy being this little kid and people looking down on her and treating her like a kid. And yes, also feeling that she's also, being protected by other people and riding their coattails and getting a higher rank because of them. But no, over time, again, we do get these little moments where they have arguments over what quests they're doing. I do like at some point where they get into a competition. Nokopada starts up a competition to see which group can get the most money in the shortest amount of time, and then it turns into the least amount of quests, and Nokopada just sends off Roxy to have to babysit some kids, and is getting chummy with the husband of the household and make nice with the woman of the household. That way you can get a lot of money from them and take care of us. This entire time, Nokopada is constantly looking for an easy way out to a very easy life. And if he has to use Roxy and her body to pull it off, she's gonna do it. I didn't really get a sense about who potentially the boy could have been. The boy that she babysits kind of looked very unique. I kind of wanted to look through like the list of all the characters and see if I can find somebody. Now, granted, again, this is like at the current time, like 35 years before Ruiz is even born. So it would have to be somebody like very older in the mainline series that she would have been babysitting here. But I kind of wonder if this is supposed to be somebody that we know. He pulls off some crazy Grand Crossed attack, but I don't know if it's implying that somebody special that pops up later. But she babysits some kid. Eventually, the mother sends Roxy to go to a pantsu store. The moment that Roxy is introduced to the heavens and potentially finds the fabric, the holy fabric at this point. But yeah, I love Roxy going to this underwear store and just like looking at all this stuff and getting all crazy about it. Eventually being brought to the back where she has to authorize and confirm that it's the proper pantsu for the lady of the house, and it's got it's got the slit down in one, and Roxy doesn't know what it's for. Eventually she goes to leave with it, like, I'm gonna have to confirm it with the madam, but thank you. She goes to leave, and it's like this little side thing where it says Roxy didn't know what the slit was for until eventually Ruiz will explain it to her. It's like, it's so wrong. Anyways, after she gets the pantsu, we have a little moment where she runs into Blaze and Dale, and this is where we get like that emphasis of Roxy realizing that, you know, Blaze and Dale specifically are very reckless. Again, this is the point where she's like, okay, now I see why Nokopada really hates them taking combat quests. They're very reckless. Blaze's mentality is like, it's fine as long as it's not a, you know, critical injury. It'll heal up over time. It's not that bad that I need to go seek help or whatever. And then Roxy's like, wait, hold on, let me heal you. Let me heal. Wait, you know how to heal? That's great. We can do crazier stuff. No, stop. That's not why I'm healing you. Stop it. I think it's a good eye-opening experience for Roxy to sort of realize the dangers of what they're doing. Following this, it does get a little bit into sort of how Sensei Vlad was into sort of discovering things that are new. The idea of traveling around the world was a lot to do with sort of discovering things that, you know, seems normal for people of their culture, whatnot, their environment, like the Magurdian tribe. I mean, they're in the middle of nowhere. They live in shells. They have these massive Venus flytrap things that, you know, guard their gardens. Like, when Ruiz first arrives there, it's like, what is this weird tribe? But this is like everyday life for them. Whereas if you go to somewhere else, everything's different. And it's kind of sad, again, to see a lot of that cultural differences really kind of being thrown in Roxy's face. I mean, one example is, you know, seeing the nastier sides of people, realizing that, man, maybe it's not so great that I can communicate with anybody. Like, it's great. I thought it would be great that I go to this other place and suddenly I can hear what everybody's saying and I can understand everybody. And then I suddenly realize that, oh God, that's right. Everybody's kind of nasty. There's a lot of people that are kind of nasty. You kind of wish that you didn't overhear what they're actually saying. But yeah, the wrap up that competition was that they got even. They were all even scored, but then suddenly the boy that she was babysitting shows up. Her belly starts growling, and the boy decides to give Roxy a candy. That's like a really expensive candy. Like a really expensive candy. So she's like, I won. That all said, we had the time jump. Again, we reached the point which I think Roxy would be 17 at this point. She reaches B rank, and at that point, they really badly want to take on an A rank adventure. Specifically an A rank mission, which eventually leads into them doing an escort, but there's also like them going to this one dungeon. And of course, there is a big fear there of dungeons. The fact that they have, you know, I'm assuming it's a labyrinth, a dungeon, whatever, but it's like you're going to have all the traps there, you're going to have the monsters there, all these things that could be extremely dangerous. Obviously, Dell's like, that sounds great. What better way for me to prove myself? And again, that gets into the idea that they all want to support him in this because they believe that this is something he can actually pull off. But as they're going there, I love this little moment where they run into this village that is having a lot of problems. They have like a drought happening there. Their defenses are down. Their fences that usually keep the monsters out is broken and everything. And they all start to help the villager, helps this old guy out with what his problems are. And eventually, the entire time, Nokopada is yelling about how it's going to cost this much. Oh, you want that? It's going to cost this much. The guy's like, hey, can you please fill these jars with water magic so we can, you know, have water in our town? Yeah, sure, I can have it. That's going to be this much. Like, Nokopada is just jumping around and going, you're this much, this much, this much. But it brings up a very important, like, distinction here. The idea of, like, you have to charge for some of this stuff. Yes, it seems mean to take advantage of these individuals. I mean, as long as you're not scamming them, it technically is a good thing because if you don't, it kind of disrupts this entire system they have. That the adventurers and those that want to hire adventurers and, hire people for jobs, this whole thing is like an ecosystem that requires, this constant transaction to happen. Somebody needs something done, you have to then do it, but then you're getting a reward for it. And if you don't have that reward structure, then eventually it all falls apart. What will happen if one day somebody does come to help you with something and your response is, well, last time they did it for free? The whole system breaks apart. There's no longer a reward system, thus nobody wants to go and actively seek out the jobs because they might get a response of, well, you did it for free last time. This entire thing requires that. The relationship that they have with this transaction is now broken. It's one of those moments where you're like, yeah, you're kind of right. I hate admitting that, but you're kind of right. But no, the bummer thing here is that they do kind of flag that something tragic's going to happen. And I knew that Dale would eventually die. I mean, spoilers. They imply that with the mainline series that Dale was sort of the thing that triggered the break of their party. Dale's death. Dale was the guy that they all looked up to. He was the cool guy that brought them all together. I just wasn't expecting it was going to be that climactic. There's one page where it literally says Roxy's like, I hope this all lasts forever. And then it's like, dun dun dun, and then something bad happens. They're going to this dungeon. I'm expecting they're probably going to go to the dungeon and they're going to fight a labyrinth boss and he's going to die. No, they're on the way there. They have like this massive rainstorm coming that like is lasting like 3 days. They eventually realize that the entire cliffside's collapsing. They can no longer take shelter inside of this little ravine. And as they're leaving, Roxy has to bust out her secret like icebreaker ability that completely wipes her mana and makes her collapse. And that was a whole reference of, make sure you do it when somebody's there. She collapses and they're like, okay, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. Dale runs off, starts freaking jumping all over, slicing up all the things that are collapsing down on them, and eventually just like collapses on the ground before it all just falls on him. That's how Dale died. He fought cliff sides and then got killed by a collapse. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a boss battle. I was expecting a labyrinth boss. I wasn't expecting Cliff-kun to come by and isekai my boy out of existence. And to have Roxy go over there and they're like, hey, let's get all this debris off. And then suddenly she's like lifts up the hand and the hand just like the hand's just the hand. I was like, okay, that wasn't really what I was expecting for the death of Dale. And I don't recall them ever really implying how he died in the mainline series. I just know that he was gone. But that sucked. That was not what I was expecting. Poor Dale, rip. But again, this is where we get like that breakup point of the party, where it really does feel like everybody sort of takes this differently. Roxy, it seems like it just kind of puts her in a stunned state. It doesn't seem like she really... It's tragic, it's rough, and she kind of wants to go home based on this, but she doesn't know where to go. Nokopara is like, this is it, everything's done, let's just get out of here, I'm going to go back home. And again, with Blaze, it seems to be a struggle for him, and the fact that he doesn't know what to do now. Because again, he was reliant on Dale to achieve what he wanted to achieve. Without Dale, he's got nothing. So it is interesting to kind of see how they each sort of take this differently. But in the end, it turns into a disbanding. And this is a shock for Roxy because of how they spent so much time together. Literally at least 3 years. They spent at least 3 years together, traveling around, doing all this stuff. The moment that Dale dies, it's broke. Within the night, it all falls apart. So I think the rough thing, though, here, and this is something they emphasize later on with Roxy getting more involved with an adventure guild clerk across the ocean. The sucky thing here is the fact that the mission they accepted, they can no longer do. They were going to do something in the dungeon. They can't do that anymore, so they have to call it quits. And in response to that, the guild charges them double-fold. So not only are they dealing with the fact that they just lost somebody and they can't do the mission, the guild's now charging them for not completing it. And then she's like, well, then I also had a party member died. Okay, well, here's this paperwork. Make sure to fill it out so we can disband you. It feels extremely heartless. And this is something that hits Roxy really heavily. Or at least it hits her right here, but she doesn't necessarily respond to it. Because I think she's in a stuck state. She's in sort of a a cold state of shock. It isn't until later, and I really liked it later on, that she, again, meets this other guild lady, that she finally sort of vents about what happened back there. After arriving at Zant, she's struggling for money and jobs, and eventually she asks the guild lady there, hey, do you have any secret jobs? And the lady's like, okay, come with me. They travel down inside the basement of the guild until they get to this room where she nearly falls because she trips over stuff. This entire room that's full of paperwork that's just scattered everywhere. It's an absolute mess. And this lady's like, yeah, I came down here with some paperwork and I tripped and everything got scattered and I haven't got a chance to clean it up. But it's all like confidential. So please, part of this whole job is going to be, you can't tell anybody what's on this paperwork. And it goes in this whole process and getting rid of older jobs that are paperwork that's older jobs, but also organizing everything. And some of the paperwork ends up being casualty reports. And yes, there's a lot of casualties during the reign of this, the rain season of the Great Forest. There's a lot of monsters, obviously. A lot of adventurers show up there in order to take out the monsters. And they get, basically every day, somebody's filling out paperwork for a dead party member or whatever. And there's like this moment of Roxy venting on this lady because the way that she feels like the guild itself is heartless about how it handles those deaths. So she immediately lashes out at this lady. Again, back there, when Roxy was dealing with the loss of Dale, they defaulted on the quest. They got penalized for everything. And she reported the death of the party member. They're immediately like, give me your guild card and I have some paperwork for you to fill out to disband. There was like a complete lack of empathy there. Roxy says right here, if you're going to act like it's just business, of course they're going to get mad at you. Dale was a person that died, and you're just going to say that it's natural. Like, she lashes out at this lady about how they just treat this like another day. Like Dale was another number. But Meridol, the guild mistress lady here, is pretty much like, if that's how you feel, then quit. Like, that's the only way that you're not going to have people around you dying. That's literally, like, if you wanted to lower your chances of people around you dying, then quit. That's the only way that's going to happen. But she said that the guild staff is supposed to treat every single adventurer equally. That the idea of like sharing in the pain and the sorrow and even the joys and happiness, that's for the actual party members to do. Like, we're not supposed to get involved in that stuff. I think there is sort of an element of like separation there that she's sort of getting into that I don't necessarily agree with, but I can see that having to be a thing they have to do. I guess there's an element there of her kind of expressing that that's what we have to do, and that's sort of what you have to do, Roxy. Like, if you don't want to be in pain all the time, stop being a member of the parties. And us over here as the guild receptionist, we have to separate ourselves too. Like, we can't share in your joys because we don't want to be in pain when you're in pain. Like she said before, every single day when it's raining, you people show up with more death reports. We'd be broken if we're in sorrow every single time we see you guys. It makes sense. It makes sense. But anyways, going all the way back there, going all the way back to the Demon Continent. After the death, Roxy decides that, well, I can go back home, but I kind of don't want to quit yet. And so she decides to jump over to Milis. And that's when we go to Zantport, very quickly realizing this place is huge, but there's nobody here because we're currently in the dry season, so nobody's there currently. There's not many jobs. Have quite a bit of time of Roxy herself trying to find a new group, realizing very quickly how much it was great being in her previous party. Even have little moments where she's struggling and she's having these moments of like recalling Nokopada and Blaze, talking behind her or something like that. Her having that brief moment of like, wait, I miss my old party. But yes, a lot of people are really not taking her seriously, mistreating her because she looks like she's young, expressing that she's gotten to B rank because she probably just was carried, basically. There was also quite a bit of something that they talked about, I think even the mainline series, about the misconception that people have with you based on your equipment. That Roxy, because she has this little wand that was given to her by her master, they see that wand, they think that she's just a beginner. That she has to go out and get a staff because otherwise people won't take her seriously. And eventually it kind of turns into her having to go to shopping and the weapons are really expensive. But then later on, the guild mistress lady's like, oh yeah, you should probably go in there and just do a down payment. That way you can get it. Yeah, a little bit of a showing that they don't want to respect her because of her equipment. Anyways, after she gets her staff, starts doing better, getting jobs, and eventually she gets confronted by a group that was sent to her by the guild mistress lady, which is this group that's doing an undercover job for the guild to act like bodyguards for a merchant to see if they can get some sort of evidence that they're doing like some kind of embezzling or something like that or like drug smuggling. Anyways, so yes, they're working as bodyguards for this guy, and they need Roxy's help because he likes them small. The guy likes buying small kids and doing inappropriate things with them. And so they figure Roxy, with her stature and her look, knowing that she's a Magurdian, probably going to attract his attention. And sure enough, he does. No, at first, the girl of their group decides to dress up Roxy to be a little bit cuter looking. So they decide to give her pigtails. It's these cute little pigtail things going on. And yep, she captures the attention of this guy. And that guy... I thought at first it was going to be pure. I knew I shouldn't have expected that, but I thought at first it was going to be pure because it kind of implies the idea that like the outfit is for his daughter, though it does imply the outfit's kind of see-through. But Roxy very quickly says, "No, you don't have kids." Like in her mind, she's like, "I know you don't have a daughter. Shut up." But I thought it was gonna be this thing where like he's legit like, I don't know, misses his daughter and he's just dressing up Roxy or girls into outfits, and so they assume that he's actually buying these girls for the sake of doing something. No, this guy's a dirtbag. Nope, this guy is scum. Need to die. He is in fact kidnapping small kids and doing very inappropriate stuff. As eventually Roxy does, after wearing a Virgin Slayer, after wearing a maid outfit that's extremely short, all these, an idol outfit, doing an idol routine. Eventually she overhears some cries, and after hearing this boy that she keeps running into, trying to find his party mate, eventually Roxy, on a whim, decides to rush back in there, check for the noise, ends up getting captured. Where we find the missing girl, and additionally a beast folk girl. This very young, very adorable beast girl that has been abused by this guy. And thankfully it doesn't imply too... I mean, it does sort of imply that it could have gone... It did go, but she might not have understood it. But, like, the fact this guy's, like, making her change and making him cuddle with him in bed and all this kind of stuff, it's like, oh, God, this is horrible. And then whenever she protests that she wants to see her family, he beats the crap out of her. I'm like, Roxy... kill him. It's like, Roxy, after you heal her, kill him. So when the guy shows up, like, kill him, Roxy. Don't put up a ice wall. Kill him. Ice wall through him so that his body separates. Ice lance, kill him, please. I know she would get branded like a murderer or something like that. They need the evidence or whatever, but it's like, kill this guy. Kill this guy. Mixed through this entire situation is that Roxy keeps running into this girl, and it more implies it early on that Roxy's getting an impression from the girl, this adventurer, that Roxy's selling herself to get a position. But right here, as they're trying to figure out how to survive this scenario, this kidnapping, it's them trying to rely on each other and get rid of discrimination aspects. It implies, based on what Roxy says, this girl is being discriminatory against Roxy. But it does feel like more of an idea of jealousy. Like this girl doesn't think that Roxy is competent as a B rank and is constantly making fun of her. At the same time, Roxy is like trying to help her out with situations, but she doesn't want to take the help. And then reverse, Roxy doesn't want to take help from her until eventually the two of them have to learn to kind of work together. To get out of the situation, they have to work together. And eventually, respect each other in the end. There's a mutual respect that is gained at the very end of all of this stuff. And it comes around the fact that Roxy helped them get out of there. This girl, Aria, did her part as well. And they saved the Beast Folk girl. So, but yeah, eventually they escape the guy. And the guards come in there, rescue everybody. And Roxy is given a quest to escort the girl to Milishion. The little Beast Folk girl, her family is back at Milishion. And they need somebody to escort her because the girl, obviously, after being with this horrible guy for so long, doesn't trust men, because is not comfortable around men. So they have Roxy escort her back to Milishion. Admittedly, I'm a little bit bummed that this was such a quick trip, because we're talking about going from Zantport, which I mean, I always remember it's got to be backwards for you guys, all the way to the Great Forest, over the mountains to Milishion, and it's just she's escorting this poor little Beast Folk girl. Like no in-betweens. Like it does have, this Miradol lady, the guild mistress. She kind of explains a lot about the continent itself to Roxy because it's her first time there. explaining the long beards and the other races in the area. It doesn't mention the beast folk, which is kind of interesting, but it explains a lot of the the races, especially in that northern tip there, but it kind of just skips all that. There is a lot of emphasis here as she leaves Zantport that she keeps running into all these checkpoints. And again, the discrimination is now coming to a head, and it gets more so when she gets to Milishion. Discrimination is now coming to effect now that she's on this continent. They don't like you. These people on this continent do not like demons, and they will charge her every single chance they get. Every single checkpoint, she's getting charged like crazy. And like she realizes the moment that she gets to Milishion, I gotta find work because I'm out of money. Like she just even though she spent a lot of time in Zant, getting a lot of money built up there, she's just spent it all trying to get this poor girl to home. Which is like that point, I hope that they're compensating her for that trip. I hope that would be one of those things like, are you going to compensate me for this? Because I got to travel all the way there, and it's going to charge me every single checkpoint I get to. It's rough. But yes, of course, the moment that she gets to Milishion, very much so getting rough. And again, it does show that brief moment where, she having the conversation with her master, and Sensei's going into how it's a beautiful place. It looks great. Milishion's supposed to be the most beautiful city in the world. The pure white castle built in the middle of a lake. The sparkling golden cathedral. There's no way anyone can call those carvings anything but amazing. I want to go there someday. Teacher? Someday. Milishion is a beautiful city, but it might be a tough place for you. I'm not sure if it's going to be a pleasant experience for you. And yeah, that definitely sucks, because like she gets there, and the entire time they're going around trying to find where her home is, which the girl only really knows based on coming from the cathedral. Like she knows where her house is from the cathedral. So as Roxy's trying to figure out how to get to the cathedral, people are assuming that she's not supposed to be there. At some point, a guard literally strangling Roxy, pinning her down, saying, "Oh, you're trying to kidnap that girl." Like the assumption there is that Roxy's this evil person that is kidnapping this Beast Folk girl, because she's a demon. Guy is literally saying, this is a human country, get your kind out of here. Again, it's present in the mainline series, but I think it is very uncomfortable to see just how first-hand experience, and I think more so than anything, being isolated. I think there is an element about Roxy being there alone. Yes, she has this Beast Folk girl there, but it's just a little girl. Roxy being there alone and not having somebody else to be at her side to kind of show at least have like a barrier to the guards and whatnot. Roxy is isolated and not supposed to be there. And there's even almost an unfortunate element of when Roxy finally does find the family members for this girl, and they're having this sweet little reunion. These family members probably never thought they'd ever see her daughter again. Like, she just went outside for a brief moment and woke up and she's in this mansion on the other side of the continent. They're happy that this happened. They're grateful to Roxy. But the entire time, Roxy, all she's thinking about is the gossip that's happening behind her. People going, what is she doing here? What is this girl doing here? What is this demon doing here? And they're offering to bring her inside. Come in here and eat something. You've been traveling for a while. You're probably hungry. Roxy wants to eat. They bring up the apple pie and suddenly he's like, okay, I'll come in there. But Roxy doesn't want to go in there because she knows it's going to look bad upon them, that a demon's going to go in their house. There's an element of like, no, I don't want to intrude on you guys, and it's probably going to look bad upon you if you bring me in, but in an apple pie. But again, right here, having the family members kind of explain to her, look, if you're anywhere besides the adventure district, you're going to be seen as an outsider, and you really should get out of here as soon as possible, because I hate to say this, you're a demon, and they don't want you here. This Beastful guy's like, I hate to say this, but you're not welcome here. It's sad, again, and it's something that I kind of assumed was going to happen. I just wasn't expecting it to be that hard to watch, and it sucks, but I almost felt like even Roxy in the mainline series wasn't that mistreated there. But again, I think that was because she established herself, she had people around her and whatnot, so, or the fact that she's just used to it. Unfortunately, at some point, I think Roxy just got used to it. She got numb to it. I think she got numb to a lot of that stuff, so. But yeah, it wraps up that volume with her going to the inn and once again getting charged a massive fee. Find a place to stay in Milishion. Charge an arm and leg. Hey, you want a place to stay? You're going to pay up and enjoy your broken down closet that you're going to be sleeping in. And again, like I said, having that little moment of her recalling back to her sensei. This beautiful place that's just not welcoming you. It's a beautiful place that doesn't want to welcome you. But yeah, it sucks. But yeah, I did like, that's these two volumes. I did like these two volumes. Really good start for everything. Really enjoyed it. And again, I appreciate the emphasis on the the Holy Relic. I've loved the art style so far. I think the comedy's been great so far. Again, getting a little bit more insights into, Nokopada, Blaze, and Dale. Their little chemistry was really good. I again do admit that was a really quick time together. It just felt like that. It felt like that was so quick. It did not last very long. I mean, barely like a full volume worth of time together before everything unfortunately happens. Is it everything that I hoped for so far? Is it everything that I hoped for so far? Yes and no. Now, I will admit that part of this is an expectation that I shouldn't have had. There is a side of me that was almost expecting it to be a bit more like Mushoku Tensei, where it does get into a lot more grittier nature of people and more disgusting sides of people. Whereas I don't think that's really been present so far, except for this nasty guy that kidnapped Roxy and Arya and this Beast Folk girl. That was a really nasty side. Again, I'm getting into the discrimination in Milishion. Besides that, it's been pretty chill. It hasn't been getting really into heavy psychological stuff and character developments. I think Roxy herself has grown quite a bit over these first 2 volumes already, which is good to see. But it hasn't spent a lot of time in her head, which I typically kind of expect for Mushoku Tensei in general. But I'm loving the art style. I'm loving the chemistry. I'm loving the goofiness, the adventure of it all. And if we've already gone through pretty much everything that I've known Roxy for already in her backstory, it has me very curious as to what else they could tell. I mean, what else do we have really to tell that we haven't experienced yet? We know that eventually she does travel across the continents, that she will eventually go to the University of Magic, that she will train there, and that she will start doing a lot of labyrinths by herself solo. I think that's pretty much all that we know about her character backstories. So everything else, it's like 10 volumes. I'm kind of curious what all we'll get into. So either way, that turned out to be a much longer Mushoku Monday than I thought it was going to be. And the great thing is, because I'm not having to read, which, to be honest, I'm not good at reading on a recording. I'm good at reading on my live streams. I'm good at reading by myself. But for some reason, reading to a recording, it's very difficult. But because I'm not reading a script or an actual volume, it was much easier to record. I'm going to have a lot less cuts. So hopefully this will be very easy to edit. But again, I'm very surprised that I'm actually raw recording over an hour so far. So I think this will actually be a meaty Mushoku Monday, which is a shocker. If that will turn out to be the same for all the other volumes, we'll have to wait and see. But I think I will keep to that for now. I will keep 2 volumes per Mushoku Monday until something changes. But I think this is working out so far. I'm actually, after recording this, I am much more confident about how this is going to turn out. And I hope for all of the Roxy fans out there, you're enjoying as much as I am, because this is again, a long time coming, and I adore my Roxy. And to get more of her, I'm just going to eat it up. And plus, I get to see her in, maid outfits, and I get to see the Holy Relic every 2 seconds, because I think this author really likes their Holy Relic. That needs to be in the thumbnail or the title. Count how many Holy Relics show up. I should have done that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Write down how many Holy Relics are in each volume. No, I'm not doing that. Somebody else can do it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this Mushoku Monday as always. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. I greatly appreciate your guys' support, your kind words, all that stuff. And yes, greatly appreciate it. Support channel monetary through Patreon, tips, links, super links, memberships, all that stuff. Thank you. But until the next Mushoku Monday, until the next Roxy gets serious, you'll take care.